Hi makers, I'm Alexandra from Minerva. I hope you are doing well wherever you are joining us from today. Today's pattern is another good one for the pattern stash. Today we are going to be working on a sew along from Butterick 5926. So this pattern comes in two different size ranges from 8 to 16 and 16 to 24. If you are starting to give jackets a go, this is a perfect starting point. It has those perfect ready to wear jacket details like neck darts, so it fits around your back, and also elbow darts. But the best part about this jacket, it calls for a knit fabric. And boy, do I have a gorgeous knit for you today. But before I show you the fabric, I want to remind you to sign up for a Minerva Craft Club account. You get a discount on all your orders for 12 months, and of course, don't forget to create a Minerva account on our website where you can talk to other makers, get inspiration, ask questions, and of course, post your makes, which we absolutely love. So for today's pattern, we are using a knit panty, and I'm using this absolutely stunning color. It's called a petrol. It's a heavy panty Roma double knit, and we have this fabric in our website in a multitude of colors. The best part, it's environmentally friendly. Since we are making a jacket, we need a heavier weight knit. Remember, there are no traditional tailoring techniques with this pattern, such as sleeve heads, shoulder pads, canvas fabric, or linings. So this fabric is perfect for it. As always, I'm going to be linking the pattern and fabric below. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, makers, so I am working on Butterick 5926, and I am going to be doing view C today with this amazing bias tape detail around the edges and of course the pocket. This pattern comes in two different size ranges from 8 to 16 and 16 to 24. So make sure that you select the correct size range for your make. Let me tell you about the pieces that we're going to need. We're going to need pattern piece number 2, and this is the front. You're going to cut 2. You're also going to need pattern piece number 4, and this is the pocket, and you are going to cut 2. We're also going to need pattern piece number 5, and this is the back. We're going to cut 2. We're going to need pattern piece number 8, and this is the front facing, and we are going to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. We're also going to need pattern piece number 6, and this is the undercolor. You're going to cut 1 on the fold, and you're going to cut 1 of interfacing on the fold. You're also going to need pattern piece number 9, and this is the upper color. You're going to cut 1 on the fold. You're also going to need the sleeves, and this is pattern piece number 10, and you're going to cut 2. Since I am making a view C, I'm also going to need 6 yards of bias tape. The pattern calls for 1/2 inch bias tape. You are also going to need a little bit of interfacing. So make sure that you grab that. You are also going to need 2 to 3 3/4 inch buttons or 19 millimeter. You are going to need 2 to 3 depending on which view you are making. I am going to be doing view C. And again, you are also going to need thread. And if you ever need us to match the thread for you, don't forget to check the box when you are ordering the fabric and we can match the thread for you. So go ahead and mark your notches. Don't forget your dots. Don't forget the interface, the pieces that need to be interfaced, and go ahead and let's get started. All right, guys, now that you've cut your fabric, you've interfaced your pieces, I wanted to remind you, make sure that you have jersey or stretch needles on your sewing machine. Very important. So we are going to go ahead and grab piece number 2, and this is the front. Remember, I am doing view C as in cat. So you are going to go ahead and you are going to stay stitch this corner because we are going to clip on it. And then remember, stay stitching, you are going to stitch 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter away from the raw edge. So go ahead and do that now for both fronts. All right, so we went ahead and did the stay stitching 1/2 inch or 13 millimeters away. So now you're going to grab your scissors and you are going to cut, and you're going to get to that dot. Remember not to clip into your stitches. Once you do that for both sides, you are going to go ahead and do your darts on both sides. And I already did mine. Let me show you. So make sure that you do your dart. And of course, don't forget to leave your thread long. Obviously, I left this long and tight. Do not backstitch. But once that's done, trim those threads and press your dart down. So go ahead and do that for both darts. All right, so we went ahead and got our bust darts pressed, and now we are going to go ahead and grab our pockets. And if you look at your pattern piece, you have a fold line, so you're going to go ahead and put a line, and you're going to cut like I've done on this pocket, and then you are going to stitch in long running stitches. You're going to stitch 3/8 or 1 centimeter away from the raw edge. And we're doing that because we want to pull on our threads and go ahead and get this curve in our pockets. So go ahead and do that now for both pockets. Go ahead and do that now. All right, notice how I press my pockets just to give them some shape. And now I'm going to grab my bias tape and I'm going to encase the entire top raw edge in bias tape. And you're going to use the narrow edge is going to go towards the top, the area that will be seen. Go ahead and make sure that it is touching the top. Right. Make sure this looks good. You don't want things crooked. Right? And once you are done, I'm going to cut this right here. You are going to go ahead again and press, because you are going to encase the top of your pocket in bias tape. Okay, so go slow. Go ahead and stitch all the way down. So go slow here. No need to rush, because you're going to encase the top of your raw pockets. Go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, so we went ahead and finished our pockets. So you have 2 dots in the pattern. That's where you're going to put your pockets in, and then you are going to edge stitch all the way on the edge, all the way around. Go slow. Take your time. If you are having trouble with this, you can put like pattern tissue paper in the bottom, and so your pocket doesn't move. Or you can also grab some hemming tape. That also works. So you can put a little bit, press it lightly, just so your pockets are not moving on you. But once you do that, your pockets are going to look like this. Again, go slow. Take your time and go ahead and put both pockets for the front piece. Go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, so we got our pockets in on both sides, and we're gonna go ahead and put this off to the side, and we are going to grab piece number 2, and this is the back. You're gonna grab both pieces, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to stitch in your darts. So go ahead and do that. Once you have your dart stitch, go ahead and press them towards the center. And then once you do that, I want you to go ahead and mark your notches. And stitch the back. So go ahead and again, do your darts, press them towards the center. Once you have both darts done, you are going to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance or 1.5 centimeters. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. And remember that for your dart, you are not going to back stitch. You're going to leave your threads long and tie them off by hand. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so I went ahead and did my darts, and then I stitched my 2 back pieces together. So now I'm going to grab my front pieces, and I am going to match the notches. So again, match the notches and the shoulders on both sides, and I want you to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. And I want you to do that for your shoulder seam, and I also want you to do that for your side seams. So all right, guys, so go ahead and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance or 1.5 centimeters for both of your shoulders. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end, and also for your side seams. Go ahead and do that now. Once you do that, I want you to try on your jacket. Make sure that this part fits. So go ahead and do that now. All right, guys. So we tried on our jacket, it fits, we're happy with it. If you want to serge or finish your seams, go ahead. Don't forget to press them. So I also want you to go ahead and stay stitch 1/2 inch away from the raw edge. So go ahead and do that, stay stitch. Do not skip this step because we are going to be stretching the collar area. So go ahead and do that now. Once you get that done, you are going to turn over your jacket, okay? And if you are not a lover of notches, markings, guess what? Go get that pattern piece and grab piece number 6, which is the undercolor, and I want you to put all of those dots in. I even did a little mark for my center, okay? So pay attention to this. You're going to grab that, pin it right there, and then you are going to grab this other dot, and that's the triangle in your pattern piece, and that means that it is your shoulder seam. You're going to put that right there. Then this dot, it's going to go here, right on this piece that we cut, right there. Okay, this is where people start getting a little confused. So right there. And this piece, you have a notch right here. You got a notch. Okay, right there. You also have another dot and another dot right there. Match those up. Okay, see that? Another dot, dot. I marked that piece on both sides. Right there. Again, that triangle right there on your pattern piece, that is always the shoulder seam on the big 4 patterns, always. So make sure that that dot is right on that shoulder seam. And you want to make sure, remember, that you press all of this really good. Again, that other dot is going to go right there. Right there. And then again, that other notch. Super important that you have all these notches, dots on your pattern pieces, because if you don't, there's going to be some issues and things are not going to line up. Okay, see how my pattern piece is stretched out. So go ahead and pin that right now. Okay, go ahead and pin that right now. Now that we have this undercolor pinned, that's piece number 6, I want you to stitch from this dot 5/8 of an inch all the way around that center back stitch. Then I want you to start on this dot, not over here, this dot, and then 5/8 inch seam allowance and meet again at the center. Go ahead and do that now. Go slow. All right, guys, so we got our undercolor done, right? And I pressed my seams. This is how it looks from the back, right? And then clip into anything. You want to make sure that this is flat, right? So now we are going to grab our upper color and our facings, and this can be a little tricky in the pattern. So let me show you. So again, you're going to pin this side already. And here's my pattern piece. So I am going to start here on this first dot. First dot right there, right there, and then you also have a notch right there and a notch in your facing. You're going to pin right there, and then you have another dot right there and another dot right there. Okay, and then we're still not done. And then we have another dot right there and another dot right there. And make sure that you are matching all of those dots. So go ahead, just like we did for the undercolor, I want you to go ahead and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance and stop at the dot right there, the dot right there, and then move on to the other side. And I want you to stitch from that dot 5/8 or 1.5 centimeter, and then stop right there. And then once you're done stitching the upper collar and the facings together, I want you to press it open. So go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, so we attached our collar to our facing, and again, I went ahead and pressed my seams open, and I strongly urge you to do so. I have some stay stitching there, and also I forgot to mention, when you are doing your facings, again, stay stitch and clip into those corners just like we did for our jacket pieces, okay? So go ahead, press those seams open, and if you lost your notches, go ahead and put those on each of the sides, because we are going to go ahead now and attach our upper color to our under color. So with right sides facing, pin right there. And I am going to match my dots on this side and on this side, and I'm going to put a pin, okay? And this pin is just going to remind me that I need to stop stitching there, and then that I need to move the seam allowances on both sides. And then again, because I want to make sure that I don't catch any of this. And when you are in the sewing machine, make sure that you stop and that you're not catching your seams from underneath. So again, go slow. Then you have another dot right here. Match with a dot right there. Okay. And then just keep going all the way down. So again, now go ahead and pin the other side. So again, same thing. Make sure that you are matching those dots right there to this dot right there. We just stitched through all of that, right? And that's going to help you get those pointy colors. So, and it's essentially where you want to stop and start stitching. Again, same thing. Look for those dots in the front and in the back. And that you, when you are in the sewing machine, that you are not catching those seam allowances from the bottom. So if you're stitching over here, make sure that you move the seam allowance from the bottom and that you are not catching it. Okay guys, now that we have all this pinned up, remember, start in the middle, go all the way down, pivot, stop right there at that dot, make sure that your seam allowances are right out of the way when you end up back stitching right there. Then again, lift your needle and then move again the seam allowances out of the way, start again, go all the way down, 5/8 inch seam allowance, 1.5 centimeters for all of this, pivot again, and keep going all the way down. Once you're done with that side, start again in the middle, and then do the same thing going the other way. So go ahead, do that now. Go slow, take your time, All right, guys, so we stitch our upper color to our under color, and I wanted to show you at least one side so you know where my stitching went. So I started in the middle, went down, stopped right there, pivoted, went down to my first dot, and then I backstitched and I lifted my needle. I moved my seam allowances, and again I repositioned my needle, again moved my seam allowances, started stitching again, backstitched and kept going, pivoted and kept going down the facing, and I stopped. Now we got to this point. Now I want you to go ahead and trim your corners, right? Because we are going to be turning this over, so we don't want any of that bulk. So again, I want you to go ahead and trim your corners, and I would say trim all of this seam allowance and all these corners, because we are going to go ahead and turn this. So go ahead and do that now. All right, now that we cut all of those extra seam allowances, we are going to go ahead and turn this over. So I usually just like to get a point turner and slowly just go ahead and turn that over. Make sure that you are turning that over. Go to the other side, same thing, right? Okay, now that we have that done, go ahead and give this a really good press, right? Give this all a really, really good press, because we want to make sure that this is all finished. And again, this is a knit. It's not going to, my facings are not going to unravel. You can serge this if you wanted to. I am going to be doing a bias tape finish on mine, but I'll get to that later. But go ahead and give your jacket a really good press. Go ahead and do that now. All right, now that we turned over our jacket, pressed it, turned our corners, I want you to go ahead and trim all of that seam allowance all the way around. And what you want to do is you want to turn this over, and then you want to slip stitch. So if you want to finish any part of your jacket with bias tape, now is your last chance to go ahead and pin and slip stitch. And this area right here, I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to attach it to that seam. I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the seam at the shoulder. I'm not going to stitch all the way through. I'm going to just slip stitch it to the shoulder seam. Same thing on this side, fold, and I'm going to attach it to that shoulder seam. So go ahead and slip stitch. Now again, if you are going to finish your facing with serger or bias tape like I am, go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, so I am putting my bias tape on my facing and some of my inside seams, but I want to remind you, if you are doing view C like I am, I want to make sure that you trim all of those seam allowances. Why? I am going to put a bias tape all around the edge of my jacket, and you want to make sure that you don't have a ton of bulk in there. How do you do that? You trim those seam allowances as close to the seam as possible. So make sure you do that before you are done slip stitching your jacket, and you cannot get back in there. So again, trim all of those seam allowances around the collar, around the tips, all the way around. So make sure you have that done before you are done slip stitching. Just a reminder. All right, so we slip stitched our collar and also our facings to our shoulder seams. So now if you are doing view C, you are going to grab your seam gauge and you are going to mark 1.25 inches, and you are going to cut again. You are going to cut from this end of your jacket all the way to this end of your jacket, right? Because we are going to use bias tape to enclose our entire jacket edge. If you are doing other views, you are going to fold and turn 1.25 inches or 3.2 centimeters, and you are going to top stitch all the way down. But again, I am doing view C, so I need to get rid of all this fabric. So depending which one you are doing, which view you're doing, so go ahead and mark your 1.25 inches or 3.2 centimeters and go ahead and cut your fabric. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so now we're gonna put bias tape around the edge. So I have my bias tape and I'm going to fold it, and you're always going to have like a narrower edge. So you're going to grab and you are going to stitch as close to the edge as possible, right? And then you are going to trim the bias tape as close as possible. I'm going to do this little bit, and then you are going to fold this in, right? You're going to fold this in, and then you are going to top stitch. You're going to do this for the entire edge of the jacket, and this is for view C. For the ends, you are going to leave them a little long. You're going to fold under and then make sure you top stitch, because you just want a nice finish edge at each corner. Again, same thing for the corners, just do a miter edge and keep going all the way around. So it's going to take you some time. Go slow. Do this now. All right, guys, so go ahead and do your darts. This is the sleeve. This is piece number 10. So go ahead and do your dart. Once you do your dart, you are going to go ahead and pin your sleeve at the notch, pin and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. And also you are going to do 2 rows of gathering stitches. So you have 3 dots, so you're going to do 2 rows of gathering stitches. Remember, that is your longest running stitch on your sewing machine. Don't backstitch. You want to leave those threads long. So go ahead and do that for both sleeves, so we can go ahead and put the sleeves in. All right, guys, so I went ahead and did my 2 rows of gathering stitches with the longest running stitch. And I also did my dart. And remember, do not backstitch at your darts. You want to leave those threads long and then tie them by hand. I also finish my raw edge. You don't have to, it's a knit. So now you're going to grab your bodice, right? You want to pull on these threads because we want to ease in these sleeves, right? So go ahead and pull threads and ease in your sleeves, right? And pull from both sides. Okay, you have 3 dots on your pattern piece number 10. So it's 1, there's a center 1, 2, and 3. So again, we have a seam on this side, and that's how you know something is amiss. On the big 4 patterns, 1 notch means the front, 2 notches mean the back. So that's how you know something is not okay. You have to make sure that those notches match. So again, 1 notch, 1 notch, 2 notches, 2 notches, right? So now you are, I'm going to grab this from the inside so you can see this. Okay. So now I have my 1 dot right there, and I have this dot right there. So I want to match those dots. Right. So here. Then I have another dot on this side right there, and my other dot is right there. And then I have a center dot, which is right there, and that corresponds with the center seam for my shoulder. So you want to make sure that you ease in this sleeve. So now I want you to stitch 5/8 inch or 1.5 centimeter all the way around. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. If you have something that's a little bit longer, just go ahead and cut. Do small cuts in your fabric and go ahead and pin. This is a knit, so you can do that. If you had a woven fabric, it will be a little bit different, but this is a knit and you can do that. So go ahead and set in both of your sleeves. All right, guys, now that we have our sleeves in and I need to give mine a really good press, you are going to measure your sleeves. I've left this sleeve long. If you are doing a different view, you would have to measure your sleeve and then fold and then top stitch. But if you're doing view C like I am, you're going to go ahead and measure your sleeve where you want it. You're going to cut And then again, you're going to grab your bias tape and you are going to set it, stitch, right? And once you stitch, you are going to flip it over and then stitch again so you can finish your sleeves. So go ahead and do that now. Once you are done with your sleeves, you have the buttons to do and then you're all done. I wanted to mention, when you are doing buttons on knits, I want to make sure that you use some sort of stabilizer. So usually what I did was I just grabbed some interfacing and I did not fuse it to the fabric. I just pinned it, and then I measured where I want my buttons, and then I pinned it all around, and then I went to my machine and knit the buttons. It's just good to do this. So again, you are helping the machine get the job done. So here's a little trick when you're doing your buttons. All right, makers, I hope you enjoyed that sew along. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. As always, we are going to be linking the fabric, pattern, and any notions that we used. Don't forget to sign up for a Minerva Craft Club account. You get a discount on all your orders for 12 months. And of course, join us at the Minerva website with an account where you can share your makes, get inspiration, or ask any questions that you may have. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.